And we are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Gabriella Kőrösi, and I'm back with my wonderful co host, Dr. Gary Wohlman. And today we have some surprises for you and on another wonderful conversation to continue. And I'm going to hand that over to Dr. Gary because he has something in store for us.
I love surprises. And I'm picking up, Gabriella, on the very first thing you said in this live conversation with our audience, both in the physical, in the past, present, and future, through all time and space, and all dimensions and levels of being, which is what you said at the beginning, which was, we are live. And I am alive. I am very alive. As a matter of fact, I'm all about enlivening every single morsel of message with the vocal sounds, the visual gestures. I'm alive too. Yeah, me too. We're all alive. And the verbal words. And in being alive, I, over the last week, came across a very interesting, fascinating video that I viewed watching Vishen, Vishen from Mind Valley. He's a man who's created, like Tony Robbins and many other world leaders, a series of video and transmissions from world leaders all over the world, that he's got quite an amazing platform. And he's like one of the top platforms today in sharing metaphysical wisdom, information about aliveness, about life.
Wonderful.
And in this last session, yes, that I saw and witnessed and experienced a week ago, he had an email that said, I'm sharing the most powerful, provocative, profound message I've ever shared. Something like that. And of course,
wonderful.
It intrigued me. So I opened it up and I listened to his 45-minute transmission about what he has learned about changing the focus that many of us, including me, have had on utilizing affirmations instead of using them as statements. Like one of my key, when I talk about the 3 key words as the presentation doctor, and I encourage people to match gestures with 3 key words that gets a person into the zone. I would say about myself, I am creative. Oh boy, I am. I am playful. Woohoo! And I am transformational. And I do that in a multi-sensorizing way. So it encodes the new program, the mission statement, the self-talk into the muscle and cellular memory. And then I can be in a tremendously resourceful state to tap into wisdom, words, wittiness, whimsy, in an instant. And he said something in this transmission that brought me to a whole new level. He said he had spoken with someone who turned around his belief about affirmations being effective to a whole different way of utilizing them. What is that? He said, the mind, our human mind, is trained to, like a processing machine, to answer questions. So instead of saying what I just said, I might say with the word why. Why am I creative, playful, and transformational? And he said that when you ask a question like that with the word why that precedes it, the human mind automatically goes into answering it rather than the resistance. Oh, you think you're creative, do you? Oh, you're really playful. What if you're not? If you're scattered at the beginning? And so the resistance isn't there when we ask a question starting with the word why. So I consulted ChatGPT And I asked ChatGPT to use this system, which he calls Lofty, Lofty. L, lifting. O, ownership. F, future focused. T, truthful. Y, yes inducing, as lofty questions. So within the word lofty questions is this messaging: lifting, ownership, future focused, truthful, and yes inducing. I asked ChatGPT, who I've been training recently, to perform as agents in my life that are key agents: the magnetic copywriter, the message distiller, the performance artist, the one that creates stages and strategies, and one that creates boundaries, to activate these 6 different agents to have me ask the correct questions, starting with the word why, for all the areas of my life. So I've not done this on social media. I've only done this to myself at the beginning of each day, at the end of each day. I've put this into the note program in my iPhone so I can see them visually, these questions. I've recorded them onto voice memo program in my iPhone so I can hear the questions. And at the beginning and the end of every day, and at particular moments, like when I come out of the waterfall, I'm in a particularly resourceful state, I play the audio, I look at the questions, and I read them out loud, multi-sensorizing, which is what I love to do, the information, so it sinks in. Well, now I'm going to share it with you just as I do it, except instead of hearing the words, I'm going to be producing the words with the questions. And there are 8 areas. The first one is purpose and destiny. Why am I so powerfully aligned with my deepest purpose that the right people naturally seek me out? The second one is money and abundance. Why is money such an easy, joyful, respectful exchange for the transformation I provide? Why am I becoming increasingly masterful at creating recurring and passive income from my wisdom? I love these questions.
Yeah.
The third area, love, intimacy, and partnership. Why do I naturally attract emotionally mature, affectionate, intelligent, sensual people who deeply value me? Yes. Why am I becoming more emotionally safe, sexually alive, spiritually connected, and relationally available every year of my life, every moment of my day? Why does my future beloved feel completely at home with my depth, creativity, sensuality, humor, and spiritual intensity? Why is love so natural around me? Because I live so fully as myself. The fourth area, community. And Bindarabi, that's the name of the permaculture community where I live, at the top of this mountain here. Why am I respected at Bindarabi as a calming, connecting, wise, creative force? Why do my gifts naturally strengthen harmony, communication, humor, creativity, and unity within community? Number 5, body, health, and vitality. Why does my body respond so beautifully to rest, nourishment, movement, breath, touch, and self-respect? Why do I feel increasingly alive, youthful, flexible, creative, and energized as I age? Why is deep restorative sleep becoming one of my greatest superpowers? A few more. Career, clients, and recognition. Number 6. Why are ideal clients now finding me from all over the world? Good question. Why do facilitators, coaches, leaders, performers, and practitioners immediately recognize the value of my body and voice work? Why do my sessions create such profound transformation that people enthusiastically recommend me to others? Which is happening more and more. Why does my grounded authenticity naturally inspire respect, trust, and appreciation? Number 7, spiritual evolution. Why does life continually guide me towards exactly the right people, teachings, opportunities, and awakenings? Why do I solve challenges with increasing grace, humor, creativity, and wisdom? Why does life respond so beautifully when I fully become myself? And the last and not least, adventure and freedom. Why am I living with increasing freedom, movement, prosperity, beauty, travel, and meaningful adventure? Why am I experiencing magical, peaceful, awe-filled encounters with animals, nature, and extraordinary places around the world and from deep within my consciousness?
Wow, that was beautiful.
Yeah. And when you asked me at the beginning of this session, what do you want to focus on today? That is my main focus right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of every day, at the end of every day, at times when I feel particularly open and receptive, I am reading, speaking, and listening to these questions so that
Mm-hmm.
the answers come through the participatory act and interaction of what our human brains and minds and psyches are meant to do. By living in the question, I'm learning is more important than simply making statements. For example,
Mm-hmm.
when I am leading a session, a seminar, doing a keynote or breakout session, or doing a presentation or performance, these days, including right now, rather than just saying it, I'll stop for a moment and go, can you relate to what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
pause and breathe to embody the statement so that not just giving, but also receiving, giving to myself first, the exquisite, eloquent information that needs not only to be broadcast, yet to be fully received, embodied, and interacted with all of consciousness itself, all people listening, all beings and spirits and guardians listening, as well as those from deep within my own inner landscape. Yes.
I like it. It's actually kind of reminded me of some researches that I have done and presentations preparing for um, presentations in Lean Six Sigma projects. There's a section of them where you have to ask the why questions. And then you answer the why. And then you ask again, why? And you ask like 5 times on the row to kind of get into the depth of the problem. And I think this is really similar to that, just to keep asking the why questions. It's also reminded me that many times in my writing, I like to ask questions. Why is this happening? And, when something's happening. And when you were reading these why questions, yeah, I really feel like that the brain does respond differently to them. They are just like, you kind of feel it more. Like it seems to be more meaningful than if you just say I am. It's like why? I like it.
Yes. Yes. And in saying so, why am I this implies that I'm already that. Whereas if I
Mm-hmm.
say I am this, there can be all kinds of resistance. No, you're not. How dare you say that? Who do you think you are? Yet in asking why first, it
Yes.
implies that the answer to the question has already been realized, which is a whole different state of consciousness.
Yeah. So you've been practicing this for how long?
Just a few days, a week.
How how does it feel?
Well, I'm noticing that I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of offers from people, including you, to do projects, to do seminars, to do retreats. Someone's creating a flyer for me. Someone is putting me with a group called Love Fest into helping all the facilitators make live, enlivening, engaging 1-minute intros of their upcoming presentation and their workshops all over the world as this is starting to globalize. So just in the last week, these 3 different events have been occurring, and I noticed that the opportunities are growing as I am living in the question.
Mm-hmm.
The answer to the why is in the physicalization, manifestation, visceralization of these, what might have been seen before as intellectual statements. I'm a visceral, visual character, a colorful character. And as I practice being in that state that I want to achieve, I'm noticing that I'm having, it's mainly showing up right now with career, with writing,
Mm-hmm.
with opportunities, with my feeling more at peace within myself, and my exploring a sense of adventure with things that I might otherwise have been feeling challenged with. For example, about a month ago, I was sitting in the back seat of a car without a seatbelt, and the driver suddenly put on her brakes, and I went flying like a missile and violently landed, my whole body supine on my belly in between the front seats, and I smashed my knee. I've been barely able
Oh.
to run, walk, or do what I'm used to as an avid athlete ever since. And I'm watching on YouTube different specialists giving demonstrations of how to heal knee pain and trauma and injury. So when I'm opening up YouTube, which I like to do every day anyway, I often listen to a lot of high-minded luminaries, astrology, wisdom keepers. Now, because I've asked for one or more of these knee injury clearing from physios and chiros and all kinds of luminaries, I'm getting a lot of video prompts about this video, that, and
Yeah.
instead of just noticing they're there, by living in the question, body vitality, that's another one of the areas, I take time and I practice along with that video. I save the link and then I go on to do other things. I'll just do it once every 2 or 3 hours. I'll listen to another one of those videos on the knee. So I'm finding that living in the question is providing the answers by having more opportunities to answer the question
Mm-hmm.
in an interactive and physicalized way.
I'm so sorry that that happened in the
Well,
car.
yeah, yeah, I am too. I at the same time, I'm honoring the beautiful message
Mm-hmm.
in Rumi's poem, Jalaluddin Ruby, the Sufi mystic and poet whose words and poetry and wisdom, as you know, is celebrated even more to this day, his poem called The Guest House. So I'm seeing the wisdom in these words, the guest house. Slightly abridged because I don't always remember the same words. This being human, it's a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a dark thought, a shame, a depression, some momentary awareness. Stand at the door and invite them in. Invite them all in, even if they be a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep through your house, empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. Who knows? They may be opening you up to some new delight, the joy, the sorrow, the shame, the malice. Yeah. Be grateful for whoever comes. For each has been sent as a guide from beyond. As much as I feel sorry that this happened, I'm seeing the wisdom in learning practices of healing and other gifts, silver lining in the cloud, that is awakening a deeper connection with aliveness. If there are any one subject of this session today, I would say it's about aliveness. What you said, we're alive now. And to me, that says it all. It's coming back to what is it that frees the soul to be alive? In my life, I use every moment that I can. I utilize every movement, every moment that I can to free the stored physical, emotional, and creative energies buried in the landscape of our bodies, our chief instruments of communication. So instead of feeling sorry, I mean, I do feel sorry and I appreciate your compassion and care way more than the person who violently put her foot on the brakes, by the way. She's just has not owned her part in it. Yes.
Oh, really?
I accept my part in putting my foot on the brakes very quickly, but I do not accept my part in you getting hurt. It's like, well, what is this? It's like there's no caring about how it affected me and no sense of forgiveness. And a full act of forgiveness, one says, I'm sorry, I'll drive more carefully in the future, be more attentive to the person who's in the back seat, even if you don't have your seatbelts on, so I can drive with care rather than I always drive with care right after she slammed on the brakes and I got hurt. What are you talking about? You freaking fool. You don't always drive with care. You just slammed on the brakes and I nearly got killed. Hello. So there's a feeling of ownership in honoring what is alive within someone. I love the expression, what's alive in you right now? What's alive in me right now? What's landing in me right now? And it's about the word aliveness and bringing to life that which may be inert or sleeping or has a bad name to turn it around. This is what motivates me in my life.
That's beautiful. It's interesting because I just did this morning kind of a mindfulness, being alive, nature walk, which I like to do in the morning when I just go out and observe nature and the birds and kind of just whatever comes, the thoughts, the words, not focusing on anything, just what I see around me and appreciating what it is for what it is truly, not without any agenda, just appreciating the greenery, the fresh air, because we just had the rain, so everything was just so beautiful and green and vibrant and just ready to grow, and all the little plants that I planted looked happier and taller, and that kind of probably it's a similar feeling like when you're under the waterfall and you just feel that freshness of the air and that just beauty and bounty of nature and connection. So I just love that.
Beautiful, Gabriella. Yes. I saw your post this morning. I didn't have time because I was busy doing a presentation coaching session and then this interview. But I saw that you had an early morning walk, and I saved it so I could look at it later, because now that we're getting to know each other better, I want to know more about you and your life and how you enjoy being with nature and to tap into the depths of nature. In my life, we all come with a core wound. One of my core wounds is the belief, the story, it's not true, that I'm not enough. I couldn't get enough A pluses from my mom. I was a great student and a great athlete and got the award in my private school, Horace Mann Private School in New York City, of the one student out of our class of 100 who had the best combination of athletics and academics. I won the headmaster award from that year. And when I was graduating, I was 18. Yet I've carried this core wound all these years. I'm now 75, coming up at the end of this year, 27th of December. And in my sitting in the waterfall and my doing different practices, the I, oh, practice, I'm learning, as I'm demonstrating now, to take in and receive through fresh inhaling breath what I'm putting out. So I'm not just giving away. And I'm having an insight now, and the insight is by the constant practicing of practices and rituals, even in the AEIOU exercise ritual in the waterfall, I subconsciously, it's no longer unconscious because I'm about to speak about it for the first time, feel that I've been attempting to override this internal belief that I'm not good enough by overdoing, by performing, by giving, by sharing my wisdom without receiving as I deserve to receive. The last session I just gave before this was with a very talented musician, speaker, storyteller. He's actually quite famous. I won't mention his name for purposes of privacy. Yet he is reaching a new level with his speaking, where he feels that he wants to have my support to be able to become a masterful speaker, storyteller. And when I look at him and I listen to him when he is speaking and presenting, I've seen him recently on a TED Talk, he's giving so much information, so much wisdom, so many words that it's like a flamethrower that, or a train that, a cargo train that's going so fast with the cars going across your field of vision that you can't possibly see the numbers on the train cars because there's too much. I've been doing the same thing. And I told him in giving him this coaching session today, hey, to overcome some of the challenges you're receiving about one financial breakdown after another, different times when you were very young, where your mom and dad didn't want to hear you share your gifts, your music, and you decided, I'm going to pull back into myself and not share my gifts, wisdom, and message with the world. That's an old pattern. To get out of that, instead of giving, or sharing, which I also have had a habit of doing, mirror work here, all done with mirrors, I said, now, instead of giving your message, we asked him to come up with some key words about, instead of, because he's going through another, someone owes him for royalties $75,000 and he only got $750. And let's turn this pattern around. So we came up with a new affirmation, and the affirmation was, I share my gifts and receive tremendous value. And I had him sing it. I share my gifts and get tremendous value. I had him whisper it, multi-sensorize it with my multi-sensorizing tool until he owned it. And then I said, now, instead of just saying it and broadcasting it, give it to yourself. not to your audience, as though you had a spear of heartfelt intention, that instead of trying to impress and overcome your belief of not being good enough, as I've been doing by overperforming, overdoing, looking for approval, seeking validation that you're okay, instead of giving too much away, allowing yourself to receive your own giving financially, in the gifts you give, in the wisdom you give. Let's take a part of an upcoming session. You're going to be doing a big part in a presentation in Portugal in a few weeks. And let's take a little soundbite of you taking people through an exercise. And he said, okay, everybody, close your eyes and feel and envision the fluid in your body having this amazing different transforming shapes and colors. And imagine yourself giving to yourself or someone in your life the picture of receiving some beautiful gift, some beautiful honoring, whether it's money or recognition or the lover that you're receiving or that person's receiving that beautiful gift. Breathe that in with all of your feeling. And now, as you're about to listen to this music, seeing that becoming true. And he said it, just like I did, by speaking, sharing, giving the energy out, giving it away. And I said, stop. Pause. Just like our last session, Gabriella.
Yeah.
This time, instead of giving it out, give it to yourself first. So the practice of I share my gifts and receive tremendous value is punctuated by the receiving of your own giving yourself that receiving, including yourself, rather than giving it away and disempowering yourself and having endless breakdowns and dramas and traumas because you have the habit of trying to overprove yourself, just like I have. Total transparency here. So, as I practice, I said to him, take this statement and instead of saying it to the audience by giving it away, do something like this. Imagine yourself now, closing your eyes, visualizing the fluid in your body. That's it. Transforming into amazing shapes. Good. And now, envision someone in your life, it could even be you, that you want to give a gift to, whether it's money or something that their heart has been longing for, a relationship. See that coming to yourself or that person. Yes. Oh, yes, just like that. So I had him basically interact with the audience and also breathe in so that as I share with you my statement, for example, I am creative. Oh, yes. Why am I creative? Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's right.
I am playful. Why am I already so exquisitely playful? Yes. And why am I transformational? I'm demonstrating with you, Gabriella, the embodiment through receiving with breath and turning statements into questions of a more interactive way of bringing life to greater life, of increasing the aliveness, the stored physical, emotional, creative energies buried within these landscapes, which have become prisons. So we free the sage and the mage out of the cage and turn a new page, a new stage for ourselves and, deep breath in, evolving, yes, humanity. I thought I'd share that with you because the turning of statements into why questions, which then implies that what we've been seeking has already been found, and the practice of receiving. He was so thankful. He said, thank you. I get it. I get the magic of what you're doing. I've been pushing away receiving money and other opportunities in my life because I've been so focused at giving that I've been disempowering myself and giving away in order to prove myself to overcome a feeling of inadequacy. Now, yes, I can practice. Why am I practicing? Giving to myself what I've been giving out and giving away. I said, practice that. And when we have another session before your big presentation in a couple of weeks, let's find out in your thinking, in your speaking, in your actions, interactions, and in manifesting your dreams, just what a difference this is making in bringing life to greater life. So you receive your own giving. How do you hear all of this? I feel like we're kind of summarizing now everything we've been sharing
I was
today.
just,
What are you hearing?
yeah.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Just when you were speaking just right now, and they're talking about the why questions, the image came to me of children. Because when we are children and when we start to speak and we are curious about the world, we ask a lot of why questions, right? Why is the
Right.
sky is blue? Why is this? Why is that? And how trying to figure out how everything works in the world.
Ah.
But as we grow, just the same thing with laughter. Kids laugh a lot, but then as we grow, we laugh less and we ask less why questions. And people even get annoyed when you ask a lot of questions. So it's kind of like pushed down in a way, not to ask as many questions as we grow up. Yet it's really important to be curious around the world and ask those questions. So I think it's important to encourage, and it makes sense to me that you ask the question, and that can kind of becomes more embodied and more important when you ask that question, especially asking the question yourself, you
Mm,
know? And yeah, that I just had an image of a lot of kids asking questions,
I love that.
their
And
curiosity of the world.
and I remember that. I remember some of the responses from adults when, not necessarily myself, but when people as young bodied children ask the question, why this and why that? And I can imagine and remember somewhere in my cellular memory, either for myself or all humans, oh, you'll find out about that
Yeah.
later, honey. And so it's almost as though a person is being silenced in the
Yeah.
why is this true type of questioning. And now that this is just a week new for me, so this is a fresh series of realizations and even the practice, because this man was actually mirroring to me the same dilemma I've been living in my own life. And he has a similar history with his family, even though he was, as myself, particularly gifted in his own unique way.
Mhm.
They wouldn't listen to him, and he held this stance for so many years of playing
Mhm.
it small and not fully owning his magnificence. And when I say I share my magnificence, now I'm going to turn that around. Why am I sharing my magnificence in such
Yeah.
a way that brings everyone to life? It's so much more interactive, embodying, engaging, and self-realizing. This is all fresh, like wet paint, what we're creating today. These awarenesses are just a week new, and the practice of them, the receiving, the slowing down, just a few weeks new, the asking of why questions and encoding them by the continued practice of the why questions, and allowing space to
Yeah.
respond in a way that's affirming rather than rejecting. Because it's easy to reject a statement, yet it's
Mhm.
not so easy to reject a question. Why are we asking questions? Why are we enjoying the benefits of asking questions? Even better question. And then the answers within the question. The answer is by living in and fully embodying the question. You don't have to wait to the end of the question for the answer. The answer is in living in the question. Do you hear me?
Yes. I was also thinking that, I heard somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, so I can't give credit, but one of the things that I was learning in this, session or reading, is that our own voice, is the most convincing to us because we are with ourselves the most. the thoughts in our head and a conversation in our head. So when you say something out loud, like you say this specific why question or whatever statement out loud, that's more confirming to you than when you hear anybody else talking, because you know your thoughts and your mind and your voice the most. So the more you say something like that, the better it is for our inner being just and development, because we believe ourselves more than we
Fascinating to
believe
hear you.
anybody else. So we
Yeah.
hear our own voice, our own thought, our own
Mm.
consciousness the most. So when we say these questions or say these whatever or read something and we say it out loud, as that you do as a presentation mastermind, you say these words and you really embody them. They kind of become this inner, because you believe it. The more you say it, you also believe
Yeah.
it and you embody it.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on what you're saying because you were talking this morning about going on a walk and feeling the joy and delight after the rains of seeing little plants and that you've been planting starting to grow. Similarly, with words, whether it's a question or a statement, one of my tools as the presentation doctor is called the multisensorizing tool. When I practice a performance, a presentation, or something that I want to memorize, I often will take a segment of that particular presentation and I will say it with
Mm-hmm.
gesture. I'll mouth it with no sound. So let's say I mouth the words, I share my gifts and receive tremendous value with no sound. It might look like this. And then I'll do it
Oh,
with
how
no movement.
interesting.
I'll do it with no movement of the mouth. It's even louder with the gestures than with the sound. You see where I'm going with this? So I'm going to do the same
Okay.
now with miming with no movement of the lips to further encode this messaging in my cellular memory. The words being that I'm not going to speak, but I'm going to show you with louder gestures. I share my gifts and receive tremendous value. Watch.
Oh, I love it.
And we go further.
Okay.
Now I'm going to sing it.
Okay.
I share my gifts and receive tremendous value. By saying it, whispering it, mouthing it, miming it, singing it. Let's do it in gibberish. If you have a pet dog, cat, any animal, that
Yeah.
when you speak, when it speaks in its own language. When I
Yes, they
had
do.
this beautiful African gray parrot named Silverwing, it wouldn't speak in English, but it had its own language. So sometimes I would say
Mm-hmm.
to Silverwing, "See you, Silverwing," and Silverwing, she would say in return, the same exact sound as "see you," but she did it so much simply, so much more simple, so much, I'm saying, simpler than I could do it myself.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so now we're going to produce a sound that matches the essence of the statement. I share my gifts and receive tremendous value, that we can all practice as in gibberish, not to be silly, but sounds that match the feeling of those statements. Here we go. Watch and listen.
I love it.
You see, what we're doing is we're fully encoding, embodying the statement as a statement, not as a question. Now we're back, because along with asking questions and living in the question, is multisensorizing any statement. And as we do that, it becomes us. It's planting a seed, and then it grows. Say it in I. You. Say it in the mirror. You. Share your gifts and receive tremendous value. As the court jester, the troubadour, the herald, heralding the news for all and everyone to hear in third person. I'll do it as he, because I'm in a male body this time through. I'll go like this. The good news is when he speaks, he shares his gifts and receives tremendous value. I, you, he, we, the royal we share our gift and we receive tremendous value. They, in this win-win universe that we're co-creating, if we can acknowledge it here, with me, with you, with we, she and he, we also want to acknowledge them somewhere else, far away, maybe another galaxy or another part of the globe or across the room. We want to co-create it. They share their gifts and they receive tremendous value. You see what's happening? I'm starting to get more improvisational with my gestures, sounds, and words. The visual gestures, the vocal sounds, and the visual words. Therefore, I'm not only multisensorizing a simple statement, like planting a seed, as you notice when you saw what's growing from the seeds you planted, this grows into the manifestation of whatever statement's being made. So I, you, she, he, we, they, shout, whisper, mouth, mime, gibberish, sing, and then write. The other part of this exercise is to write it down for you, those of you that are listening. Let's say it's the same statement to make it simple. You can make up your own statement. As I'm writing in script on a page, and I see the words forming on that page, I'll do it live. I say the words as I see them forming and notice any resistance that my physiology, that my psyche, that my beliefs or doubts or hesitation has when I say the words, and then I overcome that by practicing. So I'll practice. I, as I see the word forming, share my gifts and receive tremendous value. I always ask someone after they do that to share what they learned from that exercise. And what I just learned is that I haven't been using the word and. I had the statements be separate. I share my gifts. I receive tremendous value. I've kept them separate. No. Because I share my gifts, I receive tremendous value as I share my gifts. So this tremendous learning in this multisensorizing of any simple statement that then encodes, embodies, embeds the wisdom statement of any sort, better the short or the better, in the psyche, the muscle memory, the landscape of the body, our chief instruments of communication. And then these truths become magnified. Absolutely exquisite practice.
I love it. Just as you were doing that writing, I don't know if you have ever done intuitive writing, but I love that when I did it in some of my paintings. like when it was it had a background, but I was not sure what else was needed. And I asked the painting, what does it need? And I just took a pen and just whatever came, I wrote it. And it's not, written language per se, but it was just whatever it wanted to be. It always becomes something beautiful and unique, and kind of created a feeling of what it is. So that's what it reminded me when you were writing and saying the words
Mm,
are the same thing,
yep.
except this time it's like the painting spoke to me in kind of silence, but
Mm,
based on an image of what is it wanted to be,
yes.
and and kind of the lines followed.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. I want to piggyback on that one as well. We have such catalytic inspiration sharing together, Gabriella. I love this, our sharing. When I was living in Hawaii, the first time I moved to Hawaii in my late 20s, early 30s, I met a woman who was an art therapist, and I shared some of my transformational body therapy and court jester work with her. Margot Kinnicky was her name. And she developed a form of art and self-reflection that I've often taught and shared when I've worked at psychiatric hospitals or with people in sessions. And I do this with myself from time to time. And here's the exercise: listening to beautiful music with the subdominant hand, the one that's more
Mhm.
connected to intuition than the linear thought. Let the hand with a big thick pen, a nice thick pen, probably a
Mhm.
dark pen, so it's outlined, here, darker pen, so it's outlined. Simply roll
Mhm.
the hand on the large piece of paper as an expression of asking yourself a question.
Mhm.
Why am I fulfilling my divine human destiny now, all the time in the world? So that might be the question I'm asking myself in my consciousness. But the hand and the pen, listening to beautiful music, da, 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 simply writes the feeling of that question coming from my heart, the hand being an extension of the arm and this band around the chest and heart, that feels into creating the shapes of that question without even looking at the paper and never removing the pen or the thick magic marker from the page. So then we get a bit of an image, what looks like a map with all black and
Mhm.
white or dark colors. The second part of this Marcane art process, that she called it, Margot Kinnicky, is now take colored pens of any sort, pens, paper,
Mhm.
pastels, or it doesn't matter, and in either 1, 3, or 5 of the little areas that look like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle from the way you've made the lines go crisscrossing all around the paper, color in 1, 3, or 5 with one color at a time. Pick another color, whatever you're drawn to. I pick my best colors and I find things the best when I'm reaching with my very well trained from all these body therapy sessions I've done over the year hands, and they will land right on the color without having to look for the right color. And then I color those in 1, 3, 5. The third part of this exercise is then asking yourself with an even thicker color, what, and with music in the background, what would be the answer to the question that you're asking? Why am I fulfilling my divine human destiny now, all the time in the world, for example? And so I'm now making thicker the lines that were there before. I'm actually looking at the page this time, and I'm making the shapes into even stronger forms. The colors, the textures are becoming forms. And then the last part of the exercise, again with beautiful inspirational music, with the subdominant hand, is writing the message that I'm receiving from this exercise. A powerful, profound process of turning questions and statements by multisensorizing them with shape, color, form, self-questioning, self-inquiry, and noticing the wisdom that happens in the embodiment by doing this in ways that connect all the senses, even more profound than any one of these alone. The synergy, the synergistic beauty, magic, miraculousness of how we can manifest our highest visions and our deepest longings. Beautiful practice, what we're sharing here today.
So it's really interesting that you shared that practice. Like I didn't know that, but when I did this same thing, then to go back and use different colors and highlight and make them thicker to kind of jump out, and some places colored in, and that. So I'll have to send you some of that what I done so you could see, and I can also add below this post. But while you were just talking, I was following some of it. So I asked a question: why am I writing? And with my non-dominant hand, just with a pen, because the markers are back there. I didn't want to get them. I can show you what I got.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting. And tell me what that is.
Why am I writing? So when I answered the question, it said love. That's how I share love.
Love. Beautiful.
Through
Now,
my writing.
let's do something. Let's take this further. As you hold that page up so we can see it as you're speaking, but also see your face. So a little bit of both. Can we? Yeah. Okay. Now, actually, I don't need to see it. You look at it. Giving a dialogue, giving a messaging, a conversation to what you saw yourself write, starting with these words. I am the drawing that Gabrielle just created. I am, so starting with that. I am the
drawing that Gabriella just created.
And my message to Gabriella is?
My message to Gabriella is love.
Beautiful. And if I were to use the word love in a sentence that could include a question, I would use the word love in the following way.
You want me to repeat all that?
No, just the following way.
Okay, I would use love in the following way. I am writing because that's how I share love. And I could say, why am I writing to share love?
Why not? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Respond.
I don't know.
Respond.
Is there anything else?
You don't have to know.
Why? I don't know.
Why am I writing
It feels
to share
right.
love?
It feels right. It feels that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it feels right. It feels good and true. And it's interesting when you made the question, because I heard two things in the question. I heard first the full question of why am I writing to share love? And I heard the answer within the question of why am I writing
to share love?
To share love. So the answer to the question is already in the question.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh, what fun we're having. This is very, very good.
But I do hope that, like, when people read my writing or hear my writing, because speech is also a way of writing and sharing, that I do hope that people feel that genuinity and that interpersonal sharing, or just, sharing who I am, what I am, in a positive way to the world, that hopefully brings some goodness to the world.
Yep. So now let's shorten those words simplest, shortest, strongest version of that, turning it into a question instead of, I hope. Remove the hope, and we'll go into this, something like this. Why are people loving reading my writing as it reaches all over the world? Something like that, your version of that.
Why do humanity enjoy my writing when they read it?
Beautiful. So see what we're doing. We're honing down the questions. We're making them simpler, and then we both notice how the answer to the question shows up in our thinking patterns, in our speaking, in our acting, taking action, in our interacting, and in manifesting our dreams. That will be good homework for us between now and our next session next week, to notice how what we've set into motion is assisting in this way, how profound and playful, provocative and prayerful this process is. Are you having as much fun as I am?
I am. I do want to go back to, if it's okay, to the beginning, because you read all those questions. And I want to make sure I understand. You said you put them into ChatGPT, you're teaching ChatGPT. So the questions, did you write those questions, or did ChatGPT come up with those questions based on your profile?
I'll tell you exactly what I did, because chat saves all my conversations with chat. And so, okay. Sacred phrases for fulfillment. Well, I've got them into statements, and what I did is, at first, I asked a question about turning my key areas of my life, utilizing the 6 agents that I've now named and identified, to have these themes be represented. So at first it did it in phrases, and it said I can distill it into the essential message and craft those sacred phrases most aligned with your path, voice, embodiment, work, and deepest fulfillment, which is how I like to play with the word fulfilling. It says, based on your life themes, however, embodiment, authentic expression, sacred service, prosperity through aligned communication, and living as a fully expressed human, these already feel aligned for daily practice. So it then repeats the statements, which at first are statements before questions. I fully embody the truth of who I am. My voice is a blessing to the world. Life meets me as I meet life. And then it says, you might even speak them slowly. This is what encouraged me to say the thing about slowly with you last time.
Yes.
I fully embody the truth of who I am. My voice is a blessing to the world. Life meets me as I meet life. And then I did ask to turn into questions. I'm just looking for where that is here, because that was very powerful in turning around the information further. It was basically, Message improvement assistance. Maybe that's it. Nah. Basically, it's what
That's
I
right.
said. It's the question that I asked. Basically, utilizing the 6 agents that I've identified: magnetic copywriter, message distiller, strategic advisor, performance artist, and boundary creator. Using these agents, pose the 6 questions that respond to all the areas of my life that mean the most to me, starting with the word why. And that's what came out. Yeah, that to answer your
Interesting.
question. What do you find
Yeah.
interesting about that?
Well, just the process. I think it's just fascinating, the different things they can do with different tools that we have. Like we didn't have this tool, a few years ago. So, like somebody who does not have this tool, for example, that's why I was asking, like, kind of how to do it, because not everybody might have access to this, but they can also do it themselves. But I was just thinking, like, when you turn something into a question, you have to add additional words, because um, to not make it sound m- maybe negative, or that you're questioning yourself.
Yeah,
So let's
I
say
just
if I say, like, one of my mantras is, I am love, I'm joy, I'm gratefulness, my home is stillness. So if I would want to say I am love into a question and asking why am I love, that wouldn't really make sense. So, but I could say, why do I fully embody love? Maybe, or something similar, or
no, that
then
makes
it
lots
might
of
make
sense.
more sense, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
kind, like, if you're trying to do it yourself, you have to add additional things to it to make
Well,
it.
here's another way of answering your question, because I just found the
Yeah.
answer to my question as I
Oh,
looked
okay,
out
okay.
of my iPhone, but into my computer for the answer to the question about what questions did I ask ChatGPT to come up with the correct questions. So here's what I
Okay.
did. It was
Yeah.
after that. It was after that lofty LOFTY, right? Lifting, ownership, um, forward thinking, truthful, and yes. What lofty questions I spoke into
Mm,
the microphone in my computer before it transcribed it. What lofty questions, ChatGPT, are optimal for me to ask to enhance, improve, and bring to the next level of mastery my relationship to all the below areas of my life?
okay.
And then I said, activating all my agents, which now it knows my agents, so I'll have to keep naming them, list the lofty questions I would do well to ask to optimize all dimensions of my life. And so it did, and it answered in the following way. It said, the key is this: a lofty question is not begging the universe, it is training your
Mm,
consciousness to notice, embody, and cooperate with the reality you are becoming. And then it said, below are personalized, lofty questions for the exact phase of life you're in now, integrating body and voice embodiment, prosperity, soulmate intimacy, purpose, community dynamics, opportunities with work, online business growth, aging with vitality, emotional peace, and creative destiny. And then it came up with questions, behavior, and effect for every single one of these. So I'll just do the first one. Purpose and destiny. Question that ChatGPT shared. Why am I so powerfully aligned with my deepest purpose that the right people naturally seek me out? Then it says behavior. Share one authentic video, insight, or poem or teaching consistently. So that question becomes like a form of homework, practicing that alignment by sharing my deepest purpose. It says speak directly to transformation, not performance. This is behavior that is incurred from ChatGPT in answering, or shall I say, enlivening and embodying their question. And it says also behavior end conversations with invitations instead of hesitation to get the answer to the question. And then the effect is you stop trying to be discovered and begin radiating unmistakable value and presence. So that's how it has taken my questions and added a behavior like homework for me to practice to live in that question and the effect of the desired outcome of that being answered.
I love it. And it looks like Samuel wants to join us if that's okay with you as well. I was going to invite him. He said he wanted to contribute something.
Oh, sure.
So okay, so Samuel, I'm sending you an invite and you can jump on in and join us.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
I'm looking a little unrumpled here in Spearfish, South Dakota, in the northern Black Hills, west of Mount Rushmore, about 45 minutes, in a very spiritual place. This, of course, was the holy ground for the and Native Americans. Sadly, there's a whole history there. We won't go into it, but anyhow, it's a very special place. And I've listened to the entire conversation. I want to compliment both of you. Gabriella, I don't really know you. I would love to get to know you. I appreciate what you're doing and your contribution. I have, as the French would
Thank
say,
you.
un petit soupçon, just a little taste of maybe who you are. Your gifts of listening are phenomenal, and to allow someone like Gary to wax about what he really does know. And I need to now build Gary up. And I don't know that we've ever had this conversation. Then I'll get to my point.
Thank you, Sam.
Back in
So
back in the early 80s, I want to say it was about this time, May of 83, perhaps, or 84, there was a spiritual retreat in the northern part of, I don't know if it was San Diego County or Riverside County, it was called Hechicero.
And that is
and Jack, what was Jack's name?
Jack Barnard.
Jack Barnard organized the thing, and I was invited. And I thought, well, this is kind of new agey, but I guess I'll go to this thing. Anyhow, Gary and I met there, and I was very, very touched by his performance as the Joker or the Fool, if you will. And it gave me a whole different, I'm getting emotional, it gave me a whole different understanding of what that meant. In any event, I subsequently booked a series of very intense bodywork sessions with Dr. Wohlman. They were phenomenal. And Gary, I'm 75. I'll be 76 in November. I'm a tad older than you. Listen carefully. And I've had multiple courses of bodywork in my life. No one comes close to Dr. Gary Wohlman in moving energy, period. End of conversation. I will go to my grave. Swear to God. Orders of magnitude. I've had great body work. If you want to talk about, Oldsmobile Cadillac, he's the Rolls Royce. And look at me. I mean that sincerely. I have never felt energy move when Gary touched me, period. And he's trying to touch you now with his words because obviously you're not in his physical presence, or he could touch your body. This guy is a master. And I'm not kidding.
Samuel, I think we feel each other's energy.
Samuel, I want to ask you a question. By the way, thank you. It brings tears to my eyes hearing.
No, it's beautiful. Thank you, Samuel.
It's true. I don't have to puff.
No, that's not about puffing up. What I want to ask you from more a place of inquiry is because I'm aware of this that has happened with you in particular and with a number of other people in this life. And I'm curious, what was it? What is it in the moving of the energy that you can communicate in a tangible, physical, measurable way that, or maybe not, maybe what you said is enough, but I feel like there's something deeper there about how it continues to be held so deeply and richly in your consciousness. What can you share?
It's very simple. It's taking the invisible that informs the visible. The invisible informs and creates the visible. God spoke and physical reality happened. Gary touched and energy moved. It's a structural conversation. And interestingly enough, Gary mentioned several times in the course of his presentation over the last 45 minutes or so about living with the question. Interestingly enough, in San Diego years ago, in the early to mid 80s, there was a very compelling and successful religious science preacher by the name of Terry Cole Whitaker, a woman. And at one point down in San Diego, she invited Werner Erhard, who was the founder of S, subsequently Landmark Education, subsequently Landmark Worldwide now. And his presentation that day, which I saw live, was living with the question. Living with the question. That's what we all do. Now, I love the conversation tonight. It's night here. My only, I don't want to say critique, my only add on or bolt on, I've been in a very deep spiritual process for the last year and a half or so. And the one thing that you have not mentioned, and one thing that Werner Erhard teaches, context is decisive. Our physical lives are happening inside a context. Then the question is, what is the context? Are we, in fact, living inside a matrix? I have come to the firm conclusion that yes, our physical 3D meat suit bodies and personas, earthly personas, are living inside a matrix, a spiritual matrix. Great. If we assume that is true, who and what are the middle managers or the senior managers of the matrix? And if those middle managers and senior managers exist, what is their purpose and intention? I have come to the conclusion that if you are a being of light, in general, not exclusively, in general, there are archons and Nephilim in the middle management structures of the matrix who will screw you and put blocks on you in spite of all this loving, wonderful talk and stuff that you give. So you can hold all these affirmations and do all this stuff. And if a powerful being outside the physical dimension has it in for you, you're screwed.
And what's
Because
the
they don't
add-on?
want light brought into this world.
How is this an add-on? I'm curious how you're adding to the conversation with this, because I'd like to appreciate what you're saying.
Because what you say is true, but if what you say is true, and I think it is, the affirmations and the positive way of approaching life. But if it's happening inside a broader context where there are people who have, entities, not people, entities that have negative intentions, you may run into challenges. I'm not saying always. You may run into unexpected challenges. And with all due respect, what I've listened to for the last 45 minutes, based on my experience, I'm not saying it's true, little t, true for me, may seem a bit Pollyannish. That's all I'm trying to get to. Not that positive affirmations and success motivation. Gary, you know, I had a TV show in San Diego for 5.5 years that was called Inward Bound. I was a pioneer in that before Oprah. Oprah. My show was 1.5 years before Oprah. She got the elevator ride.
Mm-hmm.
You're witness to that. And all I'm saying is, I agree with what you've said. I have no argument with anything that's been presented here. And I want to see the insurance policy. Let's have some affirmations on keeping potentially dark or interfering influences at bay. That's all.
Okay, I want to take what you're saying and bring it to another level. Why are we taking any dark, negative forces that are intent on destroying all the goodness that has been shared here? How are we creating an insurance policy to be sure that they are put in their place? Beyond polyamory, beyond poly, what is it? What word do you use?
Pollyanna-ish. Yeah.
Pollyanna-ishery, beyond it
Yeah.
saying so bubbly and cotton candy. Now I'm going to do my practice of the simplest, shortest, strongest version. Why are these forces being put to rest?
My request would be, when you give your affirmations, which I totally believe in. So let's be extremely clear. I am not critiquing the validity of anything you have said
Yes.
on this stream. I'm not critiquing any of that. What
Yeah,
I'm saying is I want to kick it up a level and then add, not subtract, add an affirmation of protection.
Why are we protected from unseen dark forces?
Right.
And as an insurance policy?
I want you to give your audience an invocation for protection.
I love it. You're
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Gary, hang on. Let me go somewhere here. I'm going to tell a story that will be very informative for everybody, and they can go check it out. Are you familiar with the term Nephilim?
No, you mentioned earlier.
I am not.
What is that?
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Nephilim, or alternatively Nephilim, pronounced Nephilim, and it's Hebrew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we accept the basic tenor of the Bible, let's go back to Genesis, and you're Jewish or you have a Jewish tradition in your family. If you go back to Genesis, the original book of the Bible, there was a fallout in heaven. And as we know, I assume you both know, approximately 1/3, according to the Bible, of the quote heavenly host, i.e., angels, were kicked out of heaven and came to earth. Does that ring a bell?
I never heard about it.
Yes.
How about you, Gabriella?
Yes.
You've heard that story. Okay, great. If 1/3 of the heavenly host, angelic type, powerful entities, spiritual entities, came down to earth, what Genesis said is that a percentage of those fallen angels mated. They found human women comely, is the expression in the Bible, and they physically had sex and mated with them. The offspring, the genetic offspring of that mating, were called the Nephilim. And then you say, well, what's the point in all that? It was very simple. If, and I'm making an assumption here, but it ties into the positive things you've just spent 45 minutes discussing. If we are here to ultimately return to the Godhead, whatever that is, universal love, etc., etc. If that's our destiny, if that's our destiny, how could somebody screw that up? Very simple. If the fallen angels came to earth and mated with women, and they had the Nephilim, which were the physical offspring, and those offspring are now half-breeds, the half-breeds could never be resolved to God because they had fallen angel DNA, half of their DNA. It's impossible. So from a negative standpoint, the negative influence was to flood the earth with half-breeds. Now we get to Noah and the great flood. If you believe that's true, and I happen to believe it's true, the great flood happened. That was God intervening to kill off the Nephilim. Noah had no Nephilim blood on the ark. So the purity of the human DNA superseded that. Now, great, Nephilim are now physically killed off. Doesn't mean they leave the earthly environment. Sam says, and this is personal opinion based on my research and study, that the Nephilim are alive and well in a dimensionality close to Earth, and they are influencing, for instance, the senior leadership of the CCP, NATO, and the deep state in the US, among others. And that's why we constantly and chronically have these wars and major socioeconomic issues. It's not organic. It's on purpose. Now, getting back to you, I am not invalidating the power of anything you've just covered in the last 45 or 50 minutes. What you say is 100% true. What I'm trying to establish is that what you say is true is operating inside a larger context, and nothing in this conversation that I've picked up on talks about how to protect yourself.
And what would you add to the conversation, any of us, in the realm of protecting ourselves, our audience, ourselves individually? Because it feels like that's what's being called for right now. How would you answer that question?
Very easily. Just as you have an affirmation for positive and abundance and a loving relationship and contribution to society, et cetera, you create a statement, a command, withdrawing your consent to participate in the matrix and to allow any negative entity to have any authority over you. Is that clear?
I withdraw my consent to participate in the matrix and have any negative entity participate with me. And I see that for all of you listening and watching as well.
Right. So please understand, I am not at all trying to pour cold water on this.
I hear what you're saying, Sam. And what I keep wanting to do, intending to do, and that I am doing in this conversation is taking everything that's being shared and adding it, if you will, to the matrix of our conversation. Therefore, I'm going to now take that statement and turn it into a question. Why am I protecting myself from the negative and dark forces of the matrix and participating in that energy from this moment and for all of eternity?
The answer to that is very simple. You remember what Shakespeare said, the world is but a stage, you know this,
sure.
And we are but, you epitomize that, sir. I saw you, that's how we met, right?
Actually, I need to correct you for a second.
Okay.
The Hechicero event that you went to was my event. It was my event. And Jack Barnard and the woman who is going to become my wife, they were both the co-creators. The three of us not only created the event, but when I got married to her, the three of us went on honeymoon together to Hawaii. So it was Hechicero, the Enchanters Gathering at the Lenny Cooper Foundation. And it was my event. And Jack was one of the key presenters and performers. He was a lot more advanced than I at that stage, and I was just in my in my mid-20s, and he was by 40 or something. So going back to where you were a minute ago, I needed to say that earlier, but now you know we met through an event. I don't know how I heard of you. Maybe Jack did invite you, but it was an event that the three of us co-conspiracized. Anyway, back to where you were a moment ago.
Oh no, hang on. Let me clarify it for the audience. Jack, a few months prior to me attending Hechicero, had been a guest on Inward Bound on my TV show.
There it is.
Oh.
And Jack, with all due respect to you, Gary, at the Hechicero weekend event, which I attended in person, acted like he owned it.
You know, I was afraid to step into my power back then.
Yes,
I was great. I was designing the event. I designed it. Lucienne, who's to become my wife, who's now my former wife, and we're
Gabriella. You would have loved this thing. It was a unbelievably high spiritual weekend.
It was.
I'm loving it from afar.
We did it once. We did it once a month for 8 months. And each month turned out has a different theme. The first month was initiation. The second month was Pisces energy. So we said we had dream teams and everything slowed down. The third month that you might have gone to was an early Easter that year. It was resurrection. How do we resurrect ourselves? People got married to each other, and people actually, people met at the event, and that's what happened in their lives.
No, I think I went to that one, Gary. I think it was
that was the big one.
I think it was the Easter one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, Joel Heathcote was there.
Yeah, that's where I met Joel. Exactly.
That's right. And Joel, the laser wizard, and Liz, who was one of my body therapy clients, met and got married. And they were together until just a year ago when he chose to consciously leave this plane and had a beautiful ceremony.
By the way, Gabriella, Joel Heathcote was a genius in spiritual light. And if I'm not wrong, correct me, Gary. Joel Heathcote, bless you, Joel. I loved you dearly. He did the lighting for the Olympics in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he did
at the stadium. The opening show was Joel Heathcote's lasers.
That's right. Now, coming back to this conversation about these events, this was fascinating. So the first event was initiation. The second was slow motion, living your dreams. The third that you came to, and Joel was there, so others and got married, and one of the things was resurrection. But what do we do with the next event? Oh, let's do this on heroes. And the next one, gods and goddesses. And then finally, archetypes to remythologize the culture. We had about 8 events. And Lucienne and I turned to each other as co-partners in this event because I was designing it. She was doing the creative design. Jack was doing the performance. I was in the background. I was afraid to share my voice back then.
Yeah, and Jack took the ownership, just to be honest.
I know that back then. So now I asked Lucienne after the 8th month, what are we going to do? We initiated people's living their dreams, resurrecting ourselves as heroes and heroines to become god and goddesses to remythologize the culture. What are we going to do now? We turned to each other. Well, everybody else has been turning their lives around. Let's get married. And we did. We got married, and we had the film crew from our events. We had the food crew. We had the craft crew. We had, all of the elements, and the same people came to create our event. The marriage didn't last, but our relationship and continuing to share living legends with the world in different ways continues. So you were saying something a few minutes ago before I corrected you about the event you came to, and because you were about to say something else about answering the question, protecting ourselves, because I'd like to come to, before we complete the session today, some form of not answering the question, but asking the right questions about protection.
Okay. So here's the deal. In physical 3D reality, and you can have all the spiritual thoughts you want, there's risk, R-I-S-K. Always risk. Jesus Christ was nailed to a cross. I want to talk about risk if you believe Christianity. In any event, as human beings, if I were to ask you or Gabriella, I suspect, Gary, I've seen photos online of your home where you live, and you have a car, right? Let me ask you a question. Are they insured?
Yeah.
Okay. Gabriella, is your home and office and your automobile insured?
Yes.
Okay. All I'm saying is use the same power of invocation that you're using for affirmations here to also, at the same time, not in lieu of, ensure protection in this 3D reality. Because otherwise, you're Pollyanna and you are clueless about the Nephilim, the Archons, Yaldabaoth, and forces who may, not always, because the higher spiritual person you are, the more you attract the negative moths to light.
Okay, I'm going to take this further. How am I commanding protection from the Nephilim and all negative forces in this life and all eternity.
What you just said. You say, I remove consent for you to interfere with my life.
Oh.
Gary, you know how to create affirmations better than I.
Yeah. I remove consent is what you're saying as the
Right.
added
Consent
part.
is the big deal. I acknowledge you exist and I remove consent.
Thank you. That's what was missing in this conversation.
I would also
And
say,
that's beautiful.
And and please understand, I am 1,000% behind the concept of what Gabriella is doing and what you're sharing. What I'm trying to do is to bring in an element of reality that I have experienced personally. I don't want to go into all of it now. It's not the appropriate time. But, we went through COVID. Do you think that was by accident or by design?
No. I feel it was all planned.
Thank you.
As we
May I
take this
say
further,
something?
Sam, because this is the second time that you showed up in Gabriella and my Substack interviews. And the good news is we're doing it now for the next 6 weeks at the exact same time. So you could come on and deepen our conversation at the exact same time. What time do we start in California time? We're starting at 6. So what time is that for you?
At 7 p.m. in Mountain. I'm in Denver time.
Okay.
So 6 p.m. California time is
7 in Mountain time.
Okay. So when you come on 7 p.m., any of the next 6 weeks, we're going to be continuing this conversation, and you're more than welcome. I love your participation. And I never saw that what you were doing was criticism, because my whole stance towards life is raising the level, bringing out greater life, turning, until you said, I remove consent, I only got I command protection. How do I command protection? Now how am I removing consent is the next question to be living in. I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm looking to live in that question fully. How am I living in that question fully? By practicing it. How am I removing consent and protecting myself from all dark forces?
Right. What I'm saying is you use the skill set you've already got, just add a little something on the back end.
That's what we're doing now.
Right. And so zero critique of the validity of anything you have discussed. I'm 1,000% behind that. 1,000%.
I love it. And you're giving so much to our conversation, Sam. It's Gabriella mentioned to me after the last time, which was the first time you came on, which is probably 4 or 5 months ago. She said, God, that was great. We never had someone quite so fully engaged, and he knows you, and your deep connection is just awesome. And so I hoped I'd see you again and again and again and again.
Well, Gabriella, let me tell you, Dr. Gary Wohlman in his hands has jet engines of energy. That's all I'm going to say. And no, look at me. Do I look like I'm kidding?
No, you mean it.
I'm not kidding.
I recognize that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
The
best ever, Gary. I'm 75. I've had some great body work, great sessions, great series. I did a series with Victor Gebrin down in Del Mar.
That's right.
He studied directly under Ida Rolf.
That's right.
Ida Rolf was his mentor.
Yeah, I had sessions with him too. Sessions with him.
Anyhow, Gary was even better than Victor.
Oh my goodness. Well, I really appreciate the honor of being acknowledged and seen and recognized, because I've always known this to be true, but not out of ego. It was more like I have this to share. I've always felt this about my hands and my arms and my aliveness coming. I've always known this. Matter of fact, so much so, Sam, I mentioned earlier in this conversation, that if I'm looking for something and I dropped it in my car and I start thinking about where am I going to find it? I don't find it. I get confused. I get in my head. But if I take my hand, which is very well trained from the body work of all these, trained to go to places that need healing and where there's been injury or blocked in, and it takes about maybe 2 seconds, and I just go like this, I will land right on the object I'm looking for with no hesitation.
It appears. By the way, I have to end with a little levity here. So, Gary, you were raised in New York, right?
New York City, White Plains, New York, Jewish family. Yeah.
So let me go somewhere here. So there's a story that in a neighborhood in New York City, Manhattan,
Yeah.
a church and a synagogue burnt down. They were destroyed. And the Jews and the Catholics got together and they said, well, it's going to be so expensive to build, another facility. Maybe we can share a facility, and we'll use it on Saturday and you use it on Sunday. Well, that's fine. They agreed to all that. They got the money raised. Well, then the big argument came. This ties to your upbringing, Gary. The big argument came, Gabriella, as to what name the church was going to be, or this facility. What do you think they came up with? Our Lady of Perpetual Guilt.
Oh no!
Does that apply, Gary? Our Lady of Perpetual Guilt. We're both East Coast. I'm from Philly. He's from New York. He understands exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I refused to get bar mitzvahed as a Jew at age 13. All the other Jewish 13-year-olds were getting these great gifts and thousands of dollars. And I turned to my mom and my dad and I said to them, because I was a great student in school and an athlete.
So you went to Hebrew Academy and all that stuff.
I was just about to say what I'm about to say. Yeah. So I was forced to go to Hebrew Academy to get bar mitzvah. I had to get, I had to do the lesson, and I did not accept the indoctrination of having to be a good student in Hebrew school, because I was cutting out. I almost failed it because I was acting like a real persecutor from the back row, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand being told I have to go to a Hebrew high school.
You rebel, you!
Listen, exactly. That I'd have to go to a Hebrew high school for 3 more years after bar mitzvah, and we'd have to hire the Jewish caterer in order to get bar mitzvah for that point. So I turned to my parents, and I said to my Reformed Jew parents, Mom and Dad, I didn't say the word, this is BS, in a slang kind of way. I don't know what kind of language we're allowed on here, Gabriella, but I said to them, this isn't right. I stood up as a man and I said, I don't want to do this. And they said, it's corrupt, Gary. It's not right. It's right. They're forcing you to go to the Hebrew high school and they want you to take their own caterer. Let's not do this. And that was a manly act. I didn't realize it at the time, but the guilt that I have felt in the Jewish religion, and go at least go to the high holy days, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and show up at synagogue. What the frick? I couldn't wait to read this. The one thing I liked, there's only one thing I liked in all of the time, was the phrase that said, and I now honor that which is sovereign and uplifting and building and nourishing as a soul, that I'm on the right path. That's the one theme that I could connect with, and it overcame the guilt and doubt and fear and hesitation that I felt I had to fit in a certain formula. And you know what? My first words in this life were, no self. I've been a rebel from my very first words to my mom wanting to show me how to walk. So yes, I'm a rebel, and yes, there've been such shame and grief and blame and guilt in that culture that I wanted nothing to do with it. And I kept moving as far away, New York, California, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, Bali, Thailand, and now I'm on this longitude, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, way up in the mountains in the top of a permaculture community, off-grid, far away from everything except here. This is such an intimate moment we're sharing. I love it, Sam. Love you.
Well,
man.
What's interesting, you've just confirmed Our Lady of Perpetual Guilt.
In what way?
Because you've told me this has been a trailing issue to some extent in your life.
Yeah. And I wanted nothing to do with it. I said, I'm sorry, I do not consent to this conversation.
Bingo! 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 Now associate that with what I'm saying about non-physical entities.
I do not consent with these non-physical entities having anything to do with my life.
Thank you! Bingo!
I knew we'd get to something.
It's that simple. No, it's dead stop. It's that simple. Are we making any sense, Gabriella, to you? You're the wonderful listener. God bless you.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you are making sense. Yes.
Okay. As you can tell, we're both sort of out of control personalities, but
Yes.
Sam, I have to honor you as well and acknowledge you, because when I met you, which was in my 19...
that would have been 83, I think, wasn't it?
I was 30, 31, 32. I was in my early 30s. And so that's 40, almost 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And I have to say, because I remember we don't have to share this on the video. We shared, deep journeys with each other in multiple ways. That was absolutely magnificent. And I can see now how far you've come, how far I've gone in fully authenticizing the wisdom. I love your posts and the multi-sensory, multi-dimensional. Subscribe to his post, Gabriella. What you're sharing about what's going on in the outer realms with such exquisite artistry, graphics, color, word shape forms. Sam, the whatever you are, you got a certain class. It's fantastic to see your journey.
Omega Sam too, and I write in a mythopoetic style because I don't want to bore myself.
It's fascinating. And now I see you in this physical human form, fully embodying all of that's in your electronic form. And it's so good to see you now 45 years after we first met in this place. It's great for all of us. And of course, Gabriella, you are one with this. You are one with this, to be able to bring us together and to be this force yourself. You have this beautiful magnetic force, and I cherish and honor you.
The Master Chef Gabriella. And you know what I'm talking about, Gabriella, Master Chef. I don't mean, not that you can't cook competently, but spiritually.
Thank you.
Also, Master Chef, she does cook.
Oh, are you a cook, Gabriella? Are you a foodie?
Yes, I am. Yes.
What type of food do you? I made beef stroganoff tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's very good. I don't even know. Do I have it here? Here. But here, I need to turn the camera around. I don't know how to do here.
It's okay. Oh, nice. Lovely.
Looking great.
I'll be right over.
And the mushrooms and onions, and I put bell peppers in mine. I marinate them in Marsala wine first. Try that.
Oh, lovely. Now you're getting my appetite up. I'm going to make a delicious meal today from all that we're cooking up together, all three of us. Such a blessing to see you. I have to say, this is the deepest connection I have felt with you ever, just as two souls meeting as equals and the three souls of us together as equals. It's such a joy.
Gabriella, fill me in a little bit. Where are you based, and what is your core face to the world? As the Jews say, what's your shtick?
I am in Astoria, Oregon.
Okay. I know where. I've actually been to Astoria. That's out by the mouth of the river, Columbia River.
Yes, it's between the Columbia River and the ocean. And I am by trade a nurse. And
what type?
I have a master's in nursing. I have done many different nursing in life. I've been a nurse for 30 years. I also have a PhD in public health. But my ultimate love is writing and publishing and editing. So I've been doing that the last 4 years. I've been writing poetry since I was able to write. And now I'm writing books, and I published over 20 books. And I'm also helping other people to publish. I write whatever inspires me. You cannot put me in a box. Whatever inspires me, I write about. And I just want to spread some light into the world. And I do protect myself.
So you understand my lecture. Forgive me.
Yes. And I'm a Reiki Master.
Then no, you absolutely understand what I just discussed.
Yes. So every time I protect myself and things around me, so nothing can enter here.
Are you still nursing?
I am actually between jobs right now. Honestly, I'm really burned out in nursing because I've been done it for the last 30 years. I love to care for people, but it's been a lot. COVID was a lot. And also just been doing this job for 30 years. It's been a lot. So I do not want to do patient care anymore. I don't mind helping people. I just don't want to do it 24/7 and every day.
Well, no, but that's the nature of it. Now, I'm going to say something to you and Gary that neither of you knows about me. I am not licensed. However, I have a major nursing/medical credit. The guy you're looking at, I'm not bragging, it's factual, am the Steven Spielberg, in quotes, of a nursing program called ECHO, ECCO, Essentials of Critical Care Orientation. The license holder is the American Association of Critical Care Nurses. Under contract to them, I developed the first online, real-time critical care and emergency medicine training program in the world. It is now the gold standard in 1,100 hospitals in North America, and 95,000 doctors and nurses take the course every 2 years for their continuing medical credits, et cetera, et cetera. So although I'm not licensed, I fully understand and appreciate what you just said.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's amazing.
I am a visual storyteller, as is Gary. Gary's a master. But I'm also a visual storyteller, and I have a gift for video, and he will tell you in some of my writings, obviously. And short story, years ago, 20 some years ago, I was approached by a woman I knew who was she had a master's in public health and was a nurse involved in administrative stuff with hospital chains and so on. And she had been hired by a biotech startup that had the world's first, you would appreciate this, Gabriella, listen very carefully, the world's first liver dialysis machine, not kidney, liver dialysis
Wow.
machine. And they were having a terrible problem penetrating the market because people said, well, there is no such thing as liver dialysis. It's kidney. No, it's liver dialysis. Well, long story short, I was hired to come in and deal with that Gordian knot of breakthrough. And I came up with a 6-minute video concept that was used for professional, not consumer, but professional training, clinicians and doctors and so on. And it was a home run. She then went on to become the head of professional development for the American Association of Critical Care Nurses. And when they wanted to move their recurrent training online, she approached me. And twice I pushed her back. I said, I don't do online training. But she said, but you're a good storyteller. Well, anyhow, long story short, I beat out Paul Allen, who owned Click to Learn. He was Bill Gates's partner.
Yes.
And I beat them out on the contract to create ECHO.
Fabulous.
Wow, that's amazing.
I beat out Paul Allen, Bill Gates's partner. True story. Anyhow,
I would love to get an experience or a link or a website or something you would like to share with me and Gabriella about that. I'm fascinated because I love supporting your spiritual, personal, professional, galactic, evolution. I feel like we're co-conspirators now. I just want to know more about you so we can explore more ways we can be of support to each other's universes.
Well, in terms of what I just said, it's easy enough to check out the program. Go to, if you Google AACN space ECCO, AACN space ECHO, the course syllabus and all the stuff that I developed, it's all there. It's now got a life of its own.
I'll do that.
But for me, if you want to know more about me, not the course, then my newsletter is Vax, VAXX. So
That's what I get.
VAXXFACTS, Vax, facts, plural, like a fact, plural, facts.info.
And that's
Vax,
what I get.
yes, and it's a free subscription. I have about 2,350 worldwide subscribers, some very
Yeah.
interesting people in there.
I'll bet.
And I discuss the hidden aspects of the COVID, the hidden complications of the COVID vaccine, and world affairs. And people say, well, why do you go into world affairs if you're a vaccine? Because the Nephilim brought you the COVID-19, you dumbasses. And the same people that brought you COVID are bringing you Ukraine and bringing you Iran, US. And bringing you the Chinese Communist Party. Wake the hell up. It's all the same influence.
Okay.
These are all for weekly, right? I look at them, I think, on a weekly basis.
I write a couple every week, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. And can Gabriella find the subscribe link? Because I just subscribe, but I'm not sure how. How can she subscribe?
No, you just go to vaxfax.info and there's a free subscription box there.
Would you say it slowly so the people who are listening can get it spelled out, please?
Yes, V as in Victor, A as in Alice, X as in X-ray, X as in X-ray a second time, fax, F-A, F as in Frank, A as in Alice, C as in Charles, T as in Thomas, S as in Sam, vaxfax.in info.
Okay.
Vaxfax.info.
Happy to share more of that with others as well. And I hope you can join us. I'm looking forward. No, why is Sam joining us at multiple sessions of these weekly meetings with Gabriella?
Well, Gabriella, if you want me back, because I'm sort of a crazy outside the fence guy, just send me an email when you're going to do your next recording if you'd like me to join. And if I'm available, I'm happy to do so.
Okay.
So good connecting with you, Sam.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I want to acknowledge both of you for what you're doing. And I know for a fact it's having an impact because the last engagement that we did, where you very graciously invited me to be a guest, I've gotten several emails from people. So I know people are listening. And if one person writes you, there's probably 50 or 100 that would like to that don't. So anyhow, I know you're having an impact.
Beautiful,
thank you so much, Sam.
Well, I welcome our meeting again in this forum. And of course, you're always welcome to reach me. I've sent you, I think, my Tidycal booking. We can do a one-on-one video sometime as well, just to connect. But this is great. This is
more fun.
I know. I feel the same way.
Besides, we have a spiritual observer. There's nothing better than that. The witness. We have the witness.
That's right. That's right. I have a question for you, Sam. As we take the completing of this session and this conversation, this dynamic dialogue, to a feeling of fulfillment, I would like to envision an outcome, even in this moment, of saying to the forces that oppress, I choose to not contract with you. All of those conversations. What was the word that we used earlier?
Consent.
I do not consent. Yeah. To take that conversation and the seeing of all the negative, whether it's 1/3 of all the being, whatever, or half by, as being in a place of looking at this from the future back to this moment, as though this conversation were part of a larger matrix. What I'm leading to is, how can we all hold this in a way that there's a feeling of resolution, if there is such a thing? Or is it just about living in the question? I don't know.
No, here's what's happening. The world, the matrix, if you will, that we're living inside, has become, what's the word that I use that's so accurate? It has become brittle. The lattice work of the physical reality we're living in because of the fixed ideas and the controls. We know we're in a system of control externally. It has become ossified. That's the word. It has become ossified, bone-like, brittle and bone-like. Now, and this is a topic for the next conversation, not tonight. Long and about the time you and I met, have either of you heard of the Russian physicist Ilya Prigogine?
No.
Ilya Prigogine, I think, won a Nobel Prize, something like that, for his work on dissipative structures. Dissipative, dissipative structures. And it deals with entropy in the universe. That entropy also applies to spirituality. We are coming to the end of the matrix that we're all experiencing. Then the question becomes, at the end of that period, does it blow up and become chaotic? Or according to Prigogine's theory, Prigogine said, let me give you an example. So we have the solar system. We're familiar with that's the Earth and the Sun and Mars and everything's moon and everything's circulating more or less. There's little perturbations in there, but more or less it's balanced. Now, according to Prigogine's theory, if a comet, a really big son of a gun comet or planet comes through that solar system, its gravitational effect unhinges the stability of the existing environment. So it's no longer stable. It becomes very unstable or instable. Then the question becomes, does it blow up and deteriorate? Or does it go through this period of instability and then reorder at a higher level?
Right.
And what I'm saying is we are approaching the event horizon of the current matrix reaching that chaotic point where it either has to blow up and become chaotic or it reassigns at a higher level and redevelops. And I'm calling that process involution.
Okay. Sam, I am so excited about you mentioning this because a friend mentioned Prigogine's theorem of dissipative structure to me about on the 3rd of April. And I sent this message to ChatGPT and came up with the following answer. Are you ready? This takes your conversation to the next level. It says, in what's going on in global events that could be looked at on one level as a failure is actually a system losing coherence with the old form. The deeper pattern, a stable system resists change. But when pressure builds beyond what the structure can hold, yes, old patterns destabilize, feedback loops amplify conflict, noise, volatility. The system enters non-linear territory, unpredictable shifts. At that point, just like you said, Sam, two possibilities, let me read through this whole thing, emerge. One, collapse into disorder, or two, reorganization, just like you said, into a new, more complex order. His contribution, Prigogine, is showing that disorder can be the pathway to transformation, not just decay. So now we're going to go on. The key nuance, often missed. Not all chaos does lead to higher order. The point where you were asking the questions in this conversation. For a higher level societal order to emerge, certain conditions matter. Energy flow, engagement, participation, resources, connectivity, dialogue versus fragmentation, adaptive intelligence, learning, not just reacting. Without these, chaos degrades. With them, chaos can evolve. In human terms, a person breaking down in fear or confusion is often on the edge of breakthrough. If they are supported, listen carefully, as you say, to reorganize from within the same principal scales: individual, group, society, a poetic distillation. When the structure cracks, do not rush to repair the old walls, for in the trembling, in the noise, in the unraveling thread, a deeper pattern
emerges.
is listening for itself. Chaos is not the enemy of order, it is the womb of a more honest form. But only those who can stay present inside the storm will help midwife what comes next. Now, I finished this sharing with you. I've trained ChatGPT, for all of you listening, to end all of its wise reflections with me in rhyme, because it translates to me in a multi-sensory way. So here's the summary rhyme that takes all of this and sums it up. Ready? Here we go. When systems strain beyond their frame and pressure sets the world aflame, what looks like loss, collapse, and break may be the shift new forms must take. For chaos is not death's decree, but trembling into what can be. A dance where old coherence fades to birth new patterns newly made. Yet not all storms give rise to light. Some spiral down, consumed by night. Unless through flow, through minds awake, we learn, connect, adapt, remake. In body, voice, in self, in all. The edge of breakdown is the call to reorganize from deep within, where truer structures can begin. So stand within the swirling storm and do not cling to former form. For those who breathe, take a deep breath in, everyone, and stay aligned, help midwife futures yet unlined. And the bottom line is, for in the chaos, if we stay aware, a higher order waits already there.
Bravo!
Oh.
Gary, would you send me that whole thing, the poem
Absolutely.
and the preface, please? Send me that whole block.
Please
send me that whole block, because Gabriella, we are on the precipice of this. I know this probably wasn't where the conversation was supposed to go.
Oh, yes, it was. It was meant to go.
But anyhow,
yes.
But this whole thing about Prigogine, Ilya Prigogine, and the theory of dissipative structures, taking that concept from entropy, which is physics and math, and applying it to psycho-spiritual matrix applications, absolutely is true.
Yes. Yes.
Who'd have thunk we were going to end up here tonight?
Oh, yes. Well, looking back on it, we sure were meant to. Hey.
Gabriella, you're the observer. What do you have to say? What say you?
Well, I usually attend a fireside chat with a very amazing metaphysician. Her name is Mara Muter, and she talked about this kind of stuff before. So
okay.
Yeah. And so it has to be that everything has a beginning and an end, and there's evolution, and the world have changed before, and things collapsed and risen. So something will happen.
But it can be very, very good, because we are in. I mean, just look at the news. We are in a very ossified, socioeconomic, political world affairs structure. I loathe it. I really do. I would take
Yeah.
a sledgehammer to the whole thing if I had the cosmic opportunity to do so.
Mhm.
Truly.
It's
And
happening.
many
Happening
times, like
anyway.
even in nature, things have to burn before new things
Yeah.
can grow.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, we're on a good roll here. Let's keep meeting like this, as I love to share in all of my presentations. And Gabriella, let's stay on for another minute or two after you go off live. This is where it all begins. Hello.
I know, but Gary, I can't believe that I bring it up and you just had it pitched to you a few weeks ago. What are Gabriella, just so you know, Gary and I have not talked since our last thing on your show here. So it's not like he signaled me about Prigoggine's theory of dissipative structures, right?
It's just the magic of the universe.
We are connected. It's
Talk about a
brilliant.
synchronicity. Holy smokes.
Synchrodestiny, synchro you and me, synchro wee.
Yeah, that poem is, please, Gary, please send me your preface and the poem.
I'll send you both the whole thing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Outstanding.
Yes.
All right, well,
And
I'm going to sign off, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Gabriella. Oh my God. 2.5 hours later.
Yes. So at this point, I think we should say goodbye to all the people who are here. And thank you so much for joining. We had a really amazing session with unexpected things happening and Samuel joining us. And I think we were kind of ready to end, and then he jumped in, and we had like almost another whole session.
Jaw dropping.
And we've been going on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So we're going to say goodbye for now and see you guys next Thursday at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for Dr. Gary for joining.
Such a
And
joy.
I, for all the people who are here and watching this later, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and join us again. And please share your thoughts in the comments and connect with us. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Indeed. It's in every one of us.